The garage door was open when I stepped into the kitchen that morning, and that's when my stomach dropped. Linda's Mustang wasn't there. That car had sat in the same spot for over 30 years. She loved that thing more than I ever loved my old Ford truck. Every spring, she'd be out there wiping it down with that orange microfiber cloth, humming along to Fleetwood Mac like she had all the time in the world. She's been gone 2 years now. Cancer took her quiet and fast. But somehow, seeing that empty space felt like losing her all over again. Before we continue, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. I stood at the kitchen window, coffee going cold in my hand, just staring. The garage light was off, morning sun cutting across the concrete floor. All I could see was the oil stain, dark, shaped like a heart, almost, and nothing else. Her car key wasn't hanging on the hook by the back door. The key fob she had made with her initials, LB, was missing from the bowl by the fridge. I walked outside in my slippers. April air, crisp and dusty. You could still smell the rain from last night. I stepped into the garage and stood there listening. Even after 2 years, it still smelled like her. Old leather, gasoline, and that cherry air freshener she'd hang every spring. The workbench along the back wall hadn't been touched since the funeral. Linda's little toolbox sat right where she left it, her handwriting still on the masking tape label. Mustang, spares. A folded yellow post-it was stuck under a wrench. I hadn't noticed it before. It said, Steve at Buckeye Classic Auto. Ask about paper trail if anything happens. At first, I thought it was just one of her reminders. She always left herself notes. But that phrase, if anything happens, hit me strange. I didn't have time to think much more because just then I heard the sound of tires on gravel. My daughter Emily's white Tesla pulled into the driveway. She got out, sunglasses on, phone in hand, hair perfect. Her husband, Zaid, stepped out from the passenger side, wearing one of those slim suits that look expensive, but don't fit quite right. Morning, Dad, Emily said, voice bright. We need to talk. I already knew. The empty garage said it for her. Where's the car? She glanced at Zaid, then back at me. We sold it. Those words hit me harder than any punch I'd ever taken. You what? Zaid found a buyer, she said. He's taking a trip to Dubai to meet with investors next week. We needed the funds quickly, and you never drive it. It was just sitting here collecting dust. Dust? I said. That car was your mother's life's work. Dad, she sighed. We got a fair price. $19,500. It's just a car. Just a car. Linda spent decades restoring that Mustang. Every nut, every bolt, every memory. We went broke twice in the early years because she insisted on finding original parts. You can't fake history, she used to say. Emily's words kept bouncing in my head. It's just a car. Zaid stayed quiet, arms crossed, like a businessman watching a deal close. He didn't even flinch when I said, You had no right. Emily tried to smile like she could smooth this over. We'll make it up to you, okay? You'll be proud of us. This trip could change everything. I looked at her hands, the same hands that used to hand me wrenches when she was 10. Now manicured, diamond ring flashing in the sunlight, holding a Starbucks cup that probably cost $10. Something in me cracked. Your mother trusted you with that car. She told me it was old, Emily snapped. She told me not to live in the past. You're the one who can't let go. I couldn't breathe for a second. Zaid finally spoke, smooth as glass. Sir, it's handled. The buyer's name is Steve Delgado. Buckeye Classic Auto. Everything's legal. We even signed the bill of sale. That name hit me. Steve Delgado. The same one from Linda's Post-it. My heart kicked hard in my chest. When did you talk to him? I asked. Yesterday, Zaid said. Nice guy. Knew a lot about old Fords. Emily checked her watch. We have to go, Dad. Our flight's tomorrow morning. Please don't be upset. This is good for us. They got back in the Tesla. I watched them drive off down the street, sunlight flashing on the bumper until they disappeared. I went back inside, poured what was left of my coffee down the sink, and just stood there. The house was silent except for the hum of the fridge. I pulled the post-it from my pocket, stared at Linda's handwriting. Ask about paper trail if anything happens. I didn't understand what she'd meant, but that car wasn't gone for good. I could feel it in my gut. I picked up the phone and called the number for Buckeye Classic Auto. A man answered on the second ring. His voice was steady, older. This is Steve. Steve Delgado? Yes. Who's this? My name's Jack Bennett. My daughter said you bought my late wife's Mustang Silence for a beat. Then Steve said quietly, Mr. Bennett, I was hoping you'd call. You need to come down here. There's something you should see. My hand tightened on the phone. What kind of something? He hesitated. Something your wife left for you. And Mr. Bennett, this isn't just about the car. I drove across town before I could even think twice. Buckeye Classic Auto sat just off I-75, behind a chain-link fence lined with old Chevys and rusted Mustangs, the kind of place Linda used to call a time capsule. The air smelled like motor oil and cheap coffee. A neon sign buzzed faintly over the garage door. Inside, a tall man in his 60s looked up from a clipboard. Gray hair, grease-stained hands, work shirt that said, Steve. You must be Jack Bennett, he said. Been expecting you. I didn't like that. My daughter told you I'd call? He shook his head. Your wife did. 2 years ago, that stopped me cold. He motioned toward an office in the back. Let's talk inside. The office was small, with car posters on every wall and a coffee maker that had seen better days. He poured me a cup without asking and set it on the desk. I didn't touch it. Linda brought the Mustang in last winter, Steve said. Told me she wanted everything done by the book. Original VIN plates, matching numbers, notarized inspection. Said it mattered more than the car itself. That sounds like her, I said. My throat felt tight. Steve opened a drawer, pulled out a manila folder. Inside was a letter, notarized and dated 3 months before Linda died. Her handwriting was neat and firm. Jack, if you're reading this, I'm gone. You always said I planned too much. Maybe I did. But I needed to be sure the car ended up where it belonged. There's a paper trail. Ask Steve to show you the copy. Don't let anyone sell it until you read everything. I read it twice. The words blurred. Steve turned his monitor toward me. On the screen was a scanned document, an application for a transfer on death title, naming not Emily, not me, but future grandchildren of the Bennett Family Trust. Linda had started the process but never finished. Because the DMV wanted our original marriage certificate, I leaned back. She was putting it in a trust? Steve nodded. She wanted the car to stay in the family, not be cashed out. The sound of air compressors thudded in the shop outside. My head was spinning. My daughter had sold something she never owned. I need a copy of this, I said. Steve already had one printed. I thought you might. I folded it into my jacket pocket. Where's the car now? That's the thing, he said. I got a call from a guy over at the county fairgrounds auction. Someone's entering a 68 fastback, burgundy black stripes, VIN number matches yours. My pulse kicked hard. You sure? Positive. He said a woman named M sold it to him for cash in the Kroger parking lot. Didn't match the name on the title, but he figured it was a family sale. Said he planned to flip it this weekend. That's theft, I said. Steve shrugged. Legally gray until you prove ownership. But if it goes across that auction block, someone will buy it for export. Once it's on a ship, it's gone. I sat there staring at the cracked mug on his desk, the one that said, Best Mechanic, 1998. Linda left that note because she knew this could happen. She was sharp, Steve said quietly. Told me she didn't trust how your son-in-law talked about money. That hit deeper than I wanted to admit. Zad always had that smooth charm, the kind that sells you something before you realize what you lost. I stood. When's the auction? Saturday morning. 10 sharp. I'll be there. Before I left, Steve handed me another envelope. Linda made me notarize this too. Said to give it to you only after the car changed hands without your consent. My name was on the front. I didn't open it right away. I waited until I was back in my truck. Engine running, wipers pushing away a light drizzle. Inside the envelope was a short letter and a photo of Linda leaning on the Mustang, sun hitting her hair just right. She'd written, "If they ever sell it for money, remember, it's not about the car. It's about respect. People show you who they are when they think they can take without asking. Don't yell. Don't beg. Let truth do the talking." I sat there a long time, rain tapping the windshield, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. I'd spent my life fixing lines and engines, but this was something I couldn't wrench my way out of. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every conversation with Emily over the past few months. The way she'd asked where Linda kept her important documents. The afternoon she borrowed the spare garage key and said it was for sentimental reasons. The fact that Zayed had insisted they handle the paperwork stuff because Dad's old school with money. The next morning I drove to the courthouse, filed a temporary injunction to freeze any title transfer. The clerk looked at me funny, but stamped it. Cost me $87 in half a day. Then I called the auction office, told them the car was under dispute and that any sale could be considered conversion of estate property. The manager sounded nervous. Promised to flag the lot. By the time I got home, the sun was setting. The house felt too quiet. Linda's framed photo watched me from the mantel, that same half-smile she always wore when she knew something I didn't. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mr. Bennett, this is Detective Marsh with Lucas County Sheriff's Office. We need to speak with you about a vehicle reported at the county auction. There's a problem with the VIN. Can you come down?" I stared at the message. A cold knot formed in my stomach. A problem with the VIN? Linda's words echoed in my head. Don't yell. Don't beg. Let truth do the talking. I grabbed my jacket, folded the notarized letter into my pocket, and headed for the door. Whatever they found, I had a feeling this was just the beginning. The sheriff's office smelled like stale coffee and old paper. I'd been in rooms like this before, back when I still worked maintenance for the county. Same gray walls, same hum of fluorescent lights that made you feel guilty just for breathing. Detective Marsh was younger than I expected, early 40s maybe, sharp eyes. He shook my hand, sat across from me, and set a folder on the table. "Mr. Bennett, we impounded a '68 Mustang this morning at the fairgrounds auction. VIN number was filed down, re-stamped. Buyer flagged it after our call. You reported it stolen?" I filed an injunction. "My late wife owned that car," I said, laying out Linda's notarized letter and the DMV paperwork Steve had printed. "My daughter sold it without my consent." Marsh looked at the papers. "Your daughter?" "Emily Carter," I said. "She and her husband Zaid took it while I was home last week. Used my spare garage key." He raised an eyebrow. "So technically family property." "Technically," I said, "but the car was in a trust. It wasn't hers to sell." He nodded slowly, flipping through photos. One of them stopped me cold. It was my wife's Mustang, parked in the auction lot, a bright orange tag hanging from the rearview mirror. Lot 42. The hood was open. Inside, the engine looked wrong. New parts, shiny ones. Marsh tapped the photo. "You notice the engine?" "Yeah," I said. "That's not original." "Exactly." Whoever tried to pass it off replaced the intake, swapped the carb, filed the block numbers. Classic wash job. Makes it look legit until you check deeper. "So they were planning to launder it?" I asked. He nodded. "Happens all the time. Change the VIN, sell it out of state or overseas. Paperwork clean, car disappears." I sat back. "You said it was impounded. Where is it now?" "At our facility off Monroe Street," he said. "But, Mr. Bennett, that's not the only problem." He flipped another photo across the table, an image of a bill of sale dated 2 days ago. The signatures were there. My daughter's, her handwriting. My heart stuttered. "Cash sale, 1950, he said. "Signed by Emily Carter. Witnessed by a man named Zaid Rahman. You recognize the name?" "My son-in-law." The detective sighed. "The buyer, some guy from the auction, said Emily told him her father had Alzheimer's, that you'd forget the car was sold." My throat went dry. She said that? He nodded. Said you didn't drive anymore. That you were confusing paperwork. I felt the air leave my chest. She'd said the same thing to me once, jokingly, when I forgot my reading glasses at a restaurant. I never thought she meant it. She told that man I was losing my mind, I said quietly. Mr. Bennett, Marsh said carefully, I've seen this before. Family fraud, elder exploitation. It's messy. We can't charge her yet, but we can charge whoever tampered with the VIN. If Zaid was involved, that opens a bigger door. Bigger door? His words stuck. I could see it now. Emily didn't come up with this. Zaid did. He'd always talked big. Business trips, crypto investors, overseas partners. Linda used to call him the smooth one. Marsh leaned back. The VN file matches another case. 2 years ago, same method. Different name, Rahman Investments. You might want to sit tight before calling your daughter. This could go federal if it links to laundering. I rubbed my temples. Federal? He nodded. If funds cross state lines tied to a fraudulent asset, it's wire fraud. She might not even know what she's mixed up in. The silence in that room felt heavy. A clock ticked somewhere behind me. I thought of Emily as a little girl, sitting in the Mustang's passenger seat, with her feet on the dashboard, singing along to Linda's old cassette tapes. How did we end up here? Marsh broke the silence. I'm releasing the car back to the estate once the VIN's verified. But Mr. Bennett, if you want to protect yourself, you'll need to get a financial freeze in place. Just in case. Freeze on what? Joint accounts, property records, anything your daughter might still have access to. I nodded. I'll call my bank. When I left the station, the afternoon sun hit like a spotlight. Everything looked too bright, too sharp. The fairgrounds were just a few miles down the road, so I drove there. The lot was nearly empty, but I found the spot where the Mustang had been parked. Oil marks on the concrete, the faint smell of gasoline. A man was locking up the ticket booth. He saw me staring. You the guy with the Shelby clone? It's not a clone, I said. It's mine. He nodded. Good thing the sheriff called. There was a buyer lined up, cashier's check ready. Some overseas broker would have been gone in 48 hours. My stomach turned. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with the old file Linda kept, the one marked Estate and Trust. I flipped through insurance papers, old titles, tax forms. She'd tucked a photo inside, her and Emily at the county fair, cotton candy in hand, both laughing. Linda had written on the back, teach her the difference between love and possession. I didn't sleep much. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Zaid. Mr. Bennett, please don't go to the police. This was a misunderstanding. We can fix it. A second later, another message popped up. Zaid, meet me tomorrow. Buckeye Diner, 10 a.m. Don't bring anyone. My pulse jumped. He wanted to talk, probably to clean his tracks. I stared at Linda's note on the fridge, the one she'd written before she died. Truth takes its time, but it shows up. I poured myself another cup of coffee, sat in the dark, and decided I'd meet him. But this time, I wasn't coming unprepared, because whatever fix he had in mind, I planned to let the truth do the talking. I barely slept that night. The clock read 4:23 a.m. when I finally gave up on pretending. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that lets guilt talk louder than reason. I sat at the kitchen table with Linda's old mug in my hands and the diner address scribbled on a napkin beside it. Buckeye Diner was a 20-minute drive from the house, one of those old chrome ones that never close. Linda and I used to stop there after Sunday service, coffee, pie, and talk about nothing important. The thought of meeting Zaid there made my stomach turn, but I wasn't going alone. I'd already called Detective Marsh. Don't confront him outright, Marsh said. Just keep him talking. We'll be nearby, I agreed, though part of me wanted to handle it my way. By 9:45 a.m., the diner lot was half full. A rusted Ford pickup sat near the entrance, and a black BMW, a rental, probably Zaid's, was parked crooked across 2 spots. I took a booth near the window, ordered black coffee, and waited, He showed up at 10:04 wearing that smug grin I'd grown to hate. Light gray suit, gold watch, the kind of cologne you can smell from 5 tables away. He slid into the booth across from me like it was a business meeting. "Mr. Bennett," he said, smiling too wide, "I appreciate you coming. We can clear this up like family." "Family doesn't steal from each other," I said. He raised a hand. "Let's not use ugly words." The sale was a misunderstanding. Emily thought I was losing my mind, I cut in. "Because you told her to?" Zaid's smile faltered for just a second. "People talk. I didn't mean harm. I just want peace." "Peace?" I leaned forward. "You filed down a VIN, forged paperwork, and lied to a dealer. You call that peace?" He sipped his coffee calmly, like this was small talk. "You're emotional." "I get it. You've lost a lot. But this car thing doesn't have to ruin lives. I can buy it back. Cash. I've got an investor lined up. We'll double your money." "You mean launder it again?" I said. That one landed. His jaw twitched. "Careful what you accuse me of." Outside, through the diner window, I spotted a silver sedan idling across the street. Marsh's unmarked car. My phone buzzed once. One of his officers texting ready. I played my part. Calm. Slow. Like Linda taught me when I'd lose my temper fixing old pipes. "Linda left records. Paper trail, notarized letters, the whole thing. She knew what you'd try." He laughed, a dry sound. "Your wife's gone, Jack. You're clinging to ghosts." I pulled out the photo from Linda's file, the one of her standing by the Mustang, smiling under that July sun. I slid it across the table. "She's still here. And she left the car in a trust for her grandchildren. That's what you tried to erase." He glanced at it and smirked. "Cute. But you've got no proof of intent." "Actually," I said, "I've got your text messages." I placed my phone on the table, screen facing up. Marsh had forwarded screenshots from a subpoenaed record. Zaid texting a contact labeled "Our Investments." "Asset liquidated. Title clean after VIN work. Dubai transfer." Next week, Zaid's eyes flicked to the window. He realized then we weren't alone. I smiled. Truth takes its time, but it shows up. He stood up fast, knocking his coffee over. The waitress shouted as the cup shattered. I stayed seated, calm as stone. 2 men walked in from the parking lot, Marsh and another detective. "Zaid Rahman?" Marsh said, showing his badge. "We have questions about a vehicle fraud and interstate transfer." Zaid froze. "You can't prove anything." Marsh nodded toward me. "Actually, your father-in-law here provided the notarized letter, the financial records, and the texts. You've been selling classic cars tied to laundering schemes across 3 states. Zaid's confidence cracked. "Emily doesn't know about any of this." "Then maybe you shouldn't have opened credit cards in her name," Marsh said. Zaid's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. He looked small suddenly, stripped of all that charm. As Marsh cuffed him, he twisted toward me. "You think this makes you righteous, old man?" "She'll hate you for this." I looked him straight in the eye. "No, she'll hate what you turned her into." They dragged him out through the diner's glass doors. Customers stared. One clapped. When the car pulled away, I sat there alone for a long while, the smell of burnt coffee and engine oil clinging to my clothes. I thought I'd feel victorious, but mostly I felt tired. I paid for both coffees and left a 20 on the table. Linda used to say, "Justice never feels like fireworks. It feels like breathing again after holding it too long." Outside, the air was sharp and cool. I called Emily. She didn't pick up. Then a minute later, she texted, "I know." Marsh came to the apartment. I saw the files. "I'm sorry, Dad." I typed back, "Come home when you're ready. The truth's here waiting." I drove home on the back roads, window cracked, radio humming an old Fleetwood Mac song. When I pulled into the driveway, the first thing I saw was the garage door, closed now, solid. Inside, the Mustang sat under a tarp at the sheriff's request, waiting for verification. I opened the door anyway, just to breathe that air again. Smelled like oil, dust, and a bit of Linda's perfume. Truth takes its time, I said out loud, and for the first time in a long while, it felt like I had time on my side. 3 months after they took Zaid out of the diner in handcuffs, the case finally hit court. It wasn't fast, and it wasn't pretty. Fraud never is. Paper trails, subpoenas, wire transfers, they all move slower than you'd think. But every week something new came to light. Fake LLCS in Arizona. Bank wires to Dubai flagged by Homeland Security. Even a shell company registered under Emily's name, though she'd never signed a single form. I sat through every hearing, never missed one. Front row, suit pressed, Linda's wedding ring on my finger. Zaid came in wearing the same suit he'd worn that day at the diner, except this time he wasn't wearing the gold watch. The feds had taken it. Asset seizure. His lawyer tried to argue he was misguided, not malicious, but the prosecutors had enough paper to bury that line alive. The real gut punch came halfway through the trial, when Emily testified. She walked to the stand in a navy sweater, no makeup, trembling hands. She said she'd believed everything he told her, that he'd convinced her I was slipping mentally, that Linda's trust was outdated, that the Mustang was just an asset. She said he'd promised her they'd be rich, that she'd never have to worry again. When the prosecutor asked her, "Did you know about the VIN tampering?" she broke. Right there in front of everyone. "I didn't know anything," she cried. "I just wanted him to love me." Zaid looked at her like she was an inconvenience. That told the jury everything they needed to know. It took them 3 hours to deliberate, guilty on all counts, wire fraud, title fraud, elder exploitation and laundering, 15 years federal, minimum. But the real twist came after the sentencing. A few weeks later, Detective Marsh called me. "You might want to come down here," he said. "There's something you should see." When I got to the station, he handed me a box. "Property recovered from the evidence room," he said. "Zaid's storage unit in Perrysburg." Found this mixed in with other documents. Inside were dozens of envelopes, each labeled with names, car models, and amounts. Old scams, people like me. One of the envelopes, though, had my wife's name on it. Linda Bennett. My chest tightened. I opened it. Inside was a single folded letter. Linda's handwriting. "Jack, if you're reading this, they found it. You've done what I couldn't." I knew something wasn't right the day he started asking questions about the car. He wanted paperwork, titles, anything with my signature. I pretended not to notice, but I was scared. I told Emily to be careful, but she called me paranoid. "You always said truth has a longer breath than lies. Keep breathing for both of us. I love you." Marsh must have seen my hands shaking. He said softly, "She must have written that before she passed." Maybe he stole it and kept it as leverage. I just nodded, couldn't speak. That night, I took the letter home, sat in the garage with the Mustang, uncovered now and back where it belonged. The air smelled like it used to. Oil, dust, the faint trace of her hand lotion from the steering wheel. I read her letter out loud, every word echoing in that concrete room. Emily came by a week later. She didn't say much, just stood in the doorway. I handed her the letter. She read it slowly, tears slipping down her face. "Mom knew," she whispered, "even then." "Yeah," I said. "She always did." Emily reached out, touched the car's hood. "I want to make things right, Dad." "You already started," I told her. She joined a nonprofit a month later that helps victims of financial abuse, mostly seniors who'd been conned by family. I helped her get it off the ground. It felt like something Linda would have done. As for me, I kept the garage just like she left it. I drive the Mustang every Sunday, never far, just enough to keep the engine warm and the memories close. Sometimes when I stop at a red light, I still hear Linda humming along to the radio in my head. I take that as her way of saying I did okay. You know, people talk about revenge like it's about getting even. It's not. Real revenge is when the truth outlasts the lie, when what's right finally breathes again after years of being buried. If this story means anything, it's that silence protects the wrong people. Speak up even when it shakes the ground. Have you ever had to take justice into your own hands, or forgive someone who didn't deserve it? Tell me in the comments. And if you've stayed till now, thank you for listening to my story. Maybe subscribe if you want to hear more from folks like me who learned the hard way that closure isn't peace, it's the beginning of it.